Hey everyone, welcome to the next tutorial. In our last one, we built out this testimonial page, pulling in data from our meta boxes, custom fields, and custom post type. And what we're going to do today is take our testimonials and build out a relationship with our custom post type services. So you see I have a services archive here, and a service page built. Again, I'm using MetaBox to build out my custom post type and using custom fields from MetaBox to pull in my data here. We can take a quick look at our service in the back end. So I added a text field for our title. I did a text area for our service snippet. I did a what you see is what you get field for our service description, and then I use image advanced for our service gallery. I put in a taxonomy called services, and I have a featured image over on the right hand side, and that's what we use to pull in on our service here. So you can see we have our gallery here that light boxes just like we did in our previous video as well. So let's go ahead and dive into actually building out the relationship. So to start with that, what I'm going to do is jump over to our dashboard here. We're going to go to MetaBox and relationships. You can see I have one in here, but we're going to go ahead and set up a brand new one. So as a default, you can see that this reciprocal relationship checkbox is not checked. And we want to make sure we leave that unchecked. It's kind of deceiving. You'd think that you would want that checked, but what that works for is if you wanted to go from an actual post to a post, so you're doing the exact same type, or if we were going from service to service or testimonial to testimonial. But in this case, we are going from service to testimonial. So we are going to leave that out. So I'm going to go ahead and title this as service to testimonial. For my object type, we're choosing post here. Otherwise you can do term or user, but we want post. And our post type is going to be services. So just go ahead and select that. You can choose to put in an empty message. We can choose a service. In our to field, again, we're just going to change our post type to testimonial. And again, we can type in choose a testimonial. And now let's jump into our other settings here. So in our meta box, I'm not going to change anything here for both of ours. But in our field option, we are going to go ahead and label this. So here we're going to call this from service. And actually I'm going to go from service to testimonial. The better description you have, the better. It helps down the road when we get into Oxygen. So next I'm going to scroll down and we're going to do the same thing on our field here. We're going to label this one, let's just go ahead and say to testimonial from service. And that way we have our from and our to in the beginning of it, just so we know which one's which. And again, I'm going to just jump back to my general before I hit publish here. All right, now that we have that in there, we can go ahead and go to our testimonials and our services. So I'm gonna just hit refresh on this one I have open, and I'll do the same on my service that I have open. So you'll see now that we have in the bottom right hand here, and again, I'm using the Gutenberg builder, so it might look a little different if you're using the classic builder. But on the right hand side, you see that I have from services to testimonial, and it says select a service. So we're going to go ahead and do this, and we'll choose mountain hiking for this one, and you can add multiple if you choose. I'm going to click update. Then I'm going to jump over to my services, and you can see I have one from previously, but right now this is showing as to testimonial from service, and right now it's showing empty. But if I hit refresh, let me scroll here. It isn't actually pre-filling, so let's go ahead and set who we want in here. Becky Williams. All right. So now what we can do now that we have that set is we're going to jump into Oxygen Builder. So I'm going to go to my templates, and I'm going to jump to my single service post that I have started here, which is what we are viewing here. So I'm going to go ahead and edit with Oxygen. All right, we got that loaded up. I'm going to open my structure panel here, and I'm just going to expand all. So right below this section, I'm going to add in another section as well. And inside this, I'm going to put a div, and we'll make that 80%. I think that's what I did above as well. And we're going to make sure that this is aligned to center. Yeah, 80% is what I did here. Again, I'm not worried about design too much here. I more just am showing you how to utilize the data from MetaBox. So we have that here. What I'm going to do is add in a heading, and I believe we have an H1 already, so we'll do an H2 here, and we're going to call this testimonials for hiking, and I'll click done. And now we're also going to come back up, and we're going to add in a repeater. So in here, what we're going to do is set our query parameter, and we're going to come over to advanced and edit query, add query parameter. And our very first one that we're going to do here is going to be post type, which is towards the bottom. And we're going to add our value. And here you're going to type in the slug for your custom post type. And in our case, what we're going to be doing is the testimonial. So I know when I set mine up that I have my slug set as testimonial. Typically I would have the S on there, but I missed it when I originally set it up, as I mentioned in my previous video. But I'm just going to set that as testimonial in this one, because we're already on our service page, but what we're trying to pull in is our testimonials. So I'm going to set that as you see here, and then I'm going to do add parameter. And in this one, we're going to scroll almost all the way down again, and we're going to choose post in. We're going to add value and click data and MetaBox field. And now you'll see in our very top here, we have our two fields that we labeled. And these only show up when you actually put in that label on our field here. So it's very important that you get that added in here. Otherwise, they're not going to show up in Oxygen for us to use. So next, what we want to do is choose to testimonial from service. So it's going to be our second option that we want. Now in here, I'm going to put in a comma for both my separator or both of my separators. And in our drop down in the center here saying please select what you want to insert, we're going to do post object ID, which is going to show as post ID. Go ahead and click insert, and we can click the X at the top, and we're going to click apply parameters. And now inside here, I'm going to click my add, and we're going to add in a few text fields. I'm just going to duplicate them right away. And we'll come up and look at our testimonial to see what we have that we want in here. So we'll pull in the name, the customer name, our company name, and we'll pull in the snippet. So jumping back over to Oxygen, in my top one, I will double click it. We're going to click Insert, Metabox Field, and in here we are going to search for our testimonial snippet. We're going to insert that and click Done. And you can see that it's showing no data for field, but once we jump to the front end, it's going to actually show up for us. So I'm just going to repeat that same process here. I'm going to insert my data, Metabox Field, and this one we're going to go for the testimonial name. So let's find that in here. Customer name, insert, and done. And we'll do the same for our last. Insert, Metabox Field, and customer company. And I'm going to hit insert and done. And you can see it briefly flashes there for a moment. So I'm going to click save, jump to our front end, click refresh, and you can see that it's actually showing that data for us. So now what we can do is we can style this how we choose. If you know there's going to be more testimonials, you can certainly set it up however you want. I like using grid a lot, so we'll do that, and we'll say that we're going to have 2 in our column, and we'll make our gap a little bit bigger, even though I only have 1 right now, but we'll start with that. We're going to add a little bit of padding around this. I'm going to go 2 rem all the way around. We're going to put a little bit of space underneath this. Let's go 2 rem again. And under our name and company, let's set that to, we'll just go 1 rem for this example, because we want those to be somewhat close. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and we're going to jump to the front end just so we can see what that looks like. So you can see we have that showing up now, and we can jump back in and style this up a little bit more. First thing I'm going to do is actually center my title here, or my heading, and I'm going to add a little bit more space underneath it. Do 2 rem. Now jumping back to our testimonial, I'm going to see what we did here. We have this nice little background. I think we'll try the same thing just to stylize it a little bit. So let's set our background to, try this gray, even though that is actually a little bit darker than what we ended up using here. I don't think I have that color saved. So we'll just start with that. And we're also going to make the borders rounded. We'll go 15 here. We're going to add a little bit of a box shadow. I usually like starting with black, and then I drag it down to around 20%. And we'll go 3 for our horizontal, 3 for our vertical, 10 for our blur, and we'll try 4 for our spread. Make sure you don't click insert. I often do that and wonder why it doesn't look right. All right, let's take a look at that. I do know that I want to set my name to be bolded. So we can either choose our font weight, which is going to be the easiest way to do this. So I'll set that to 700 for this one. And I think for our company name, we're going to want that to be a little bit smaller. So right now it's most likely at 16 pixels. So we're just going to drop it down to 14, just so that's a little bit smaller. Click Save. Let's take a look at the front end. And you can see that looks a little bit better. Again, you can play with the coloring a little bit. And I think maybe what I might do is I'm actually gonna move all of this inside of a link wrapper. So because this div is already the main div inside a repeater, I can't move it. So what I'm gonna just do is do a link wrapper. I'm gonna move this up to the top and I'm gonna drag all of this in. Might be a little tricky. And I'm going to take my background that was here. I'm going to drop that off. And my border, I'm going to drop that off. And my box shadow, we're going to take that off as well. And this is why it pays to have a design planned out ahead of time and not just making it on the fly, so you don't have to undo and redo things. All right. Again, I'm not worried too much about my styling right now. I'm just trying to give a little bit of a look for you. And you can see on my effect box shadow here, I went and clicked inset again, as I told you I probably would. So it is very easy to do. We're going to change our padding here, and I'm going to remove it from here. And let's see here. I think we do want to set this up as 100% on our width. There we go. And right now it's centered. Let's see how that looks on the front end. We're probably going to have to change that a little bit. Yeah, I don't like that centered, but the reason I was putting it inside a link wrapper is so that we can click this and go to the full testimonial. So in here, let's choose our layout. We're going to go flex, column, and do flex start. And for our text color, we're going to choose just a black. And we want to make sure that in our primary tab, we do set our link. So I'm going to click data and permalink. And I can go ahead and click save now. Jump to our front end. And you can see that it aligned everything to the left, but this text field is still centered. And you can see that when I do hover over this in my bottom left here, I'm showing my permalink. So you can see that it's /testimonial /Becky Williams, which is the one that we were related to here. So I'm just going to fix my top text field here, click on that, advanced, typography, and text align left, and we should be fixed here. All right, and there we go. You can see that this styling it takes a little bit more work because you have to jump back and forth to the front end and back to the builder, just because it's not actually showing the data. So there's a few ways you could work around this. Is probably what I would do is I would just put filler text in here as I design it, and then after the fact come in and then make my data pull in from my relationship. That way I can stylize it much easier in the back end. And then once I've done that, just double click my data and insert the actual field data instead of just having it hard coded in. So for example, I'll just double click in here and I'll pull in what that data was just so we have that in here. All right, so just like that. So I would, hard code all the data in there so I can stylize it how I want. Let's say I want to make my text a different color, whatever that may be. If you're going to change all the colors, we can do that just in the link wrapper like we did before. Maybe we're going to choose a dark blue for that. And maybe we want to change our spacing here. So we'll click back on Becky here and we'll just change that to 0.5, bring that down a little bit, and let's see if there's anything else that I want to do. I think that's good for now. I've got it stylized how I want. So what I do is just double click in here again and then reinsert my data, or if I'm just starting from the beginning, I would have started with the copy in there, styled everything, and then come in here and add in my data. So again, just pulling in my testimonial snippet for the top one. Then we're gonna insert our MetaBox field customer name. And lastly, we're pulling in the company name. So again, I click insert MetaBox field and customer company, and we can click done or just click off of it. And you could see that it even flashed that data there as it was filling in. Why it's not showing the data right now, I'm not positive, but you can see when we get to the front end that it is showing properly. So I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. I'm glad that we were able to figure out how to get the relationship data to pull. I can't say that I figured it out myself. A member of the inner circle shared this earlier today and gave me permission to make a video about it. So I'm happy to be able to share this with all of you on how easy it is to actually use that relationship data now. And I haven't played with it going the other way, but I'm pretty sure if we went to our testimonial page and built that out, we would be able to go the other way as well. So since this is a shorter video, I'm going to do that quickly. So I'm going to click save, jump back to our admin. I'm going to click a new template. And we're going to inherit our global footer. We're going to set this to single and choose our testimonials. Click publish. And now I'm not going to worry about style at all for this part. I'm just going to pull in our data. So I'm going to add in 2 sections, and I'll just duplicate that. In our top section, I'm going to add in a couple of text fields. We had our full testimonial, the customer name, the customer company, and I would do the rating, but I'm not going to spend my time doing that right now. So I'm just going to double click, insert my data, MetaBox field, and again we want our full testimonial, insert, done, and you can see that we're previewing Becky Williams again. So I'm just going to continue to do this. Click my MetaBox field and we're going to choose the customer name again. And lastly, we're going to insert the MetaBox field data for the customer company. And I can see I actually have that spelled wrong, which is maybe why I get confused every time I look at it. So you can see it's pulling in our data for our actual testimonial. So now in our next section down, let's go ahead and add in our div. We'll go to 80% again. Again, I'm not worried about style at all. Just showing how to pull all of this in. So in here, we're going to enter in our repeater. We're going to set our query under Query Advanced, Edit Query, Add Query Parameter. And now we're going to scroll all the way down to Post Type, Add Value, and in this one we're going to do Services. Again, you want to use the slug that you set up for your custom post type. In my case, it is Services. We're going to add another parameter. We're going to scroll all the way down until we find Post In. We're going to click on Add Value. We're going to click Data, MetaBox Field, and now we're going to go the opposite way. So before we did to testimonial, now we're going to go from service to testimonial. Going to put in my comma for my separators, and I'm going to choose my post object ID and click Insert. Click the little X in the top and apply query. And now let's go ahead and add in a heading and some text and an image. My image, I'm going to choose my featured image and set it to medium. My title, I'm going to insert that, and we're going to set that as our service title. And it's not going to allow me to link it because it's the custom field I'm using. If I did want to use just the title of the post, we could have done that. And I'm going to add in my service snippet. I'm going to bring my image just above everything here, and we'll go ahead and click Save. And let's take a look on the front end. So now you can see we're looking at our testimonial for Becky Williams. You can see we have all of that data which we're pulling from MetaBox here. And then you can also see that down below we're pulling in our related service, which has a featured image, our title, and our data. So you can see we're going both ways with our relationship, and all we did is just set up the one relationship for service to testimonial. And because we checked this reciprocal, it is working both ways. And again, we have that selected down in the bottom right here. Again, I'm using Gutenberg, so it may be in a slightly different location if you're using Classic Editor, but you're just setting what it's related to there. And again, I did the same thing on my service as well. And it does allow you to add more if you want to, but in this case, I'm just doing one. And then in our builder, again, it doesn't actually show the data on the back end, but when we do go to the front end, it is showing. And just like I did here, if we did want to link to our service, we could either add a button like we did here, or you can just link the entire card like we did here. There's lots of options on how you want to do that. And again, you would just do that by selecting the permalink in your data. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video and you're able to now utilize relationships within MetaBox. This is a much easier way than having to custom code it. Certainly if you guys have questions, please do let me know. We'll see you guys in the next video.